Well, joining me now to discuss China's Belt and Road Initiative is Marios Maratheftis, Chief Economist at Standard Chartered Bank. Thank you so much for coming in today.
Thank you.
First of all, if you could just give us an overall sense of the scale of the Belt and Road Initiative. Is it something that people are really talking about at these IMF World Bank meetings behind the scenes?
They are talking about it behind the scenes. It's a big development. It's an incredibly important development. But never mind the IMF and the meetings here between bankers. It gets very interesting and very exciting when you actually go to some of those countries. I was in Pakistan, for example, a few months ago. I gave an overview of the world economy to clients from the corporate world, the finance world, and then all the questions afterwards were actually about China, because the most relevant story there was China and China's involvement in infrastructure in Pakistan. And something very similar applies to a place like Kenya as well. Once you go on the ground, you walk the streets, you talk to the businesses, only then can you truly realize the enormity of the One Belt, One Road approach from China.
So a Chinese government report says that trade is already increasing along this new Silk Road, if you like. Which countries, you mentioned Pakistan, which other countries are we already seeing an effect in?
Well, in terms of trade volumes, and it was interesting to see on your screens the finance minister of Indonesia as well on the One Belt panel. If you look at trade between China and Indonesia, it's growing very rapidly, around 30%. And some aspect of that is related to the One Belt, One Road. It's important for many reasons. It helps China export capital much more effectively than just invest it passively in Western assets. It's helping China deal with its excess capacity domestically. China has the know-how, and also many of these countries are actually in great need of infrastructure investment. So it's an incredibly important initiative on that front. But it's not just about infrastructure, it's not just about investment, it's also about free trade. I'm a free trade advocate. Free trade has been getting a lot of bad publicity lately in many parts of the world, and I think it's interesting to see strong leadership and strong initiatives in support of free trade and more openness. And it's interesting to see China doing that, because I think China is one of the biggest beneficiaries of this globalization and of the explosion in global trade over the past 30 years.
And which industries in particular are we seeing improvements in already? Is it really just infrastructure and transportation, as you say, and construction, or are we seeing more high-tech integration as well?
At the moment, I think the priority has been on infrastructure. If it's about trade, then transport will play a very important role. I think the next 5 years and the next 10 years, it will evolve. It will not be just about infrastructure. It will also be about economic zones. It will also be about regulation, and it will also be about technology. But the first phase, the priority was on the infrastructure, on energy, and on transport primarily.
And how much does the way we're seeing the Belt and Road Initiative unfold tell us about China's growing diplomatic clout?
Absolutely, because let's say 15 years back, China was still a dominant trade player in the world, but China wanted to stay away from the politics and the geopolitics. This has changed. China is an economic superpower. It has been for some time, but now China is also becoming very significant in politics globally. I'll give you an example, the Middle East. China was staying clear from the Middle East for many years, but during this year, China has published an explicit Middle East policy. And we had senior visits from China to important Middle East countries as well. So China is not just about trade and economics and business anymore. It's also becoming a significant geopolitical player, and it also wants to be seen in that respect.
Now, we've got China's 19th Party Congress beginning in Beijing next week. What do you expect to come out of that? What do you think we'll learn about China's future direction? And do you think the Belt and Road Initiative is really going to be central to that?
I think it will definitely feature, but mostly at a high level. I don't think there will be any significant deviations to what we have already heard from the One Belt, One Road forum we had a few months back. I think we're going to see commitment to that. an acceleration of projects, and maybe some clues to what we should be expecting over the next 5 years. And I think there could be some more emphasis to developments beyond the infrastructure as well, the economic zone, not just the infrastructure part.
Great. Well, thank you so much for coming in today and explaining all that. We appreciate your time. Marios Maratheftis, the Chief Economist at Standard Chartered Bank. Thank you.
Thank you.